Hello, welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm Nikki Wallman. For more than 1,000 years, Prague was home to a strong Jewish community. The city, rich in Jewish culture, religion and intellect, thrived as capital to one of the most prominent Jewish communities in Europe. However, the 20th century brought with it Nazism and communism, inciting tragedies that threatened to irrevocably destroy this once flourishing community. Although the devastation wrought was certainly profound, it could not prove superior to a community so strong. Because of this irrepressible spirit, Prague is today returning to its position as a flourishing center of European Jewish culture.
In a way, it's a miracle that Jewish communities survive to most terrible dictatorships in history, Nazi and the communists. Of course, you cannot directly compare it, but it must be said that under the communist regime, more synagogues were destroyed than during the Nazi regime. Of course, communists had more time. It was, during the communist regime, it was really very difficult to maintain Jewish life because it was completely forbidden to teach. There were no Jewish books, nothing in Hebrew. Everything in Hebrew was confiscated on the border. We had no rabbi between 70 to 84. So just imagine there was not one rabbi in the country, and of course, communist regime did not allow anybody to study, to become rabbi. So it was really very, very difficult, and I think really it's a miracle that this community survived.
Everything what was not usual was difficult, and especially to be Jewish was sometimes difficult. I had no problems in the communist time, but many people, mostly people which have big family connection to Israel or to US, they had really problems after with the secret police. And the community was surveyed, everything was surveyed by the secret police. Each festival, the man from the secret police was here in the building and watching what is happening. So it was everything under control.
It was difficult to decide whether to be officially member of the Jewish community, and not everybody wanted to do it. And it is there were good reasons for it, because in the 50s, when there was puppet trial against Slansky and people were killed, and when sentenced, it was publicly said people of Jewish origin. Just imagine 7 years after the war, people were hanged and sentenced, and it was publicly said of Jewish origin. At that time, of course, people were afraid to be connected in any way with the Jewish community. At the same time, it must be said that Jewish community, it's a religious Jewish community, and the Czech Jews always have been, or always, I mean, even before the war, were highly assimilated, not so interested in religion. So people did not see any reason to be members of the Jewish communities. After the collapse of the communist regime, we can speak about survival. Not only that those who maybe were afraid of being members had become members of the Jewish community, but also, I would say, the young generation is more and more interested in Judaism. So there are young couples, and there are Jewish weddings, and there are brit milah, bar mitzvah. So it started to be normal Jewish life. But now I think that we can say without hesitation that Jewish life has been secured here in this country. So I am sure that there's really a future.
Simcha, celebration of life.
The Klausen Synagogue has held an important place in the history of Prague's Jewish town. It was the largest synagogue and the seat of the burial society.
The origin of the Klausen Synagogue dates back to the golden age of the Prague ghetto. Klausen was originally the name given to the buildings which Mordechai Maisel had built at the edge of the old Jewish cemetery in 1564. They housed 2 synagogues and a Talmudic school. Its interior comprises a long hall spanned by a barrel vault framing 4 pairs of lunettes. The latter correspond with 2 rows of semicircular arched windows in the southern wall facing the old Jewish cemetery. The walls are divided by pilasters supporting an entablature surmounted by a heavily projecting string course. A woman's gallery was built on the northern side annex of the synagogue. The vast space of what was once the ghetto's largest synagogue is complemented by a 3-tiered arch, which was built with funding from Samuel Oppenheim in 1696.
The Klausen Synagogue is now a place of display of the cycle of the Jewish year with artifacts from all over Bohemia and Moravia, and the cycle of the Jewish life, which we see on the 2nd floor. And then the house nearby is the house of the Chevra Kadisha, the ceremonial hall, in which we see a series of beautiful pictures which were done by a great artist in the 1700s of all the steps of since somebody is dying, with the Chevra Kadisha, minyan near his bed, the doctor who puts the feather in his nose to see if he's still breathing, and then putting him on the ground, and all the customs and how you are making the shrouds for him and how you bury him. And this building is dedicated to this.
The Klausen Synagogue is now the only building which gives an idea as to the appearance of the early Baroque synagogues of the Jewish town. During renovation in 1883 to 84, the synagogue was extended in the western section. The vault was unified by additional stucco decorations, and the windows were glazed with stained glass. During the Second World War, the furnishings were destroyed and the synagogue was used as a warehouse and a closed exhibition space for the Central Jewish Museum. A permanent exhibition devoted to Jewish customs and traditions opened in the Klausen Synagogue in June 1946. The last renovation of the synagogue took place in 1995 to 1996, and a new exhibition of Jewish customs and traditions opened in 1997.
Maimonides, in Laws of Behavior, wrote that anger is an extremely destructive trait, and it is fitting that one should distance oneself from it to the most extreme and train oneself not to become angry, even at something at which it is appropriate to be angry. Here, the subject is addressed by author and Jewish educator Lori Palatnik. Lori has appeared on television and radio and lectured on 5 continents, illuminating traditional lifestyles and practices for our contemporary world.
Maimonides discusses anger and says that it is one of the few character traits that a person is allowed to go to an extreme in order to rid themselves of it. That you can say, I will not get angry, and try to live that way for as long as possible, a day, in order to come back to a balance. We are allowed to get angry only over certain things. You're allowed to get angry at injustice if you're going to do something about it. People are impoverished, people are suffering, children are being abused. Get angry and do something. But otherwise, getting angry at our own children, at our spouse, the people around us who we care so much about, those are the people we tend to have a very quick fuse with. And it's a tremendous mistake. If we could only see ourselves when we're angry, in the middle of yelling at one of our children, if somebody put a mirror quickly in front of our face, you'd be scared straight. But that is what our children are seeing. How can we possibly, practically, deal with this? Well, one thing is to definitely have the awareness and the sensitivity that this is completely forbidden to be angry. That is idol worship, that we're worshiping ourselves. But practically, there are certain times of the day that can sometimes make us angry. Getting the kids off to school, when they get home and they're hungry and they're tired. So be prepared. Make dinner, make supper ahead of time to make sure that at the time when everybody's at their worst, that you don't lose your temper. There are certain topics that make us angry. Perhaps you're speaking to a family member, and whenever that topic comes up, you get into a heated discussion and you get angry. Maybe shelve that topic. Put that at the back burner. Perhaps agree to disagree and not to discuss it. Anger is something that is coming from not a good place within us. And the damage that it can cause sometimes is irreparable. Just try to take back when you've lost your temper. Yes, you say you're sorry afterwards, and you should. You should apologize. For the people that we love around us, perhaps they're embedded in their hard drive, in their hearts, forever.
Well, that's our show for yet another week. Thank you so much for joining us. And please don't forget to find us on Facebook at Spirit Sister Productions Network. And of course, our website at spiриtsisterproductions.co.za. As always, from me, Nikki, and the team, shalom and have a safe and peaceful week.